In this video, we will see two examples of how to solve word problems that involve proportions. The first problem says, the ratio of boys to girls in a classroom is 2 to 3. There are 40 students in the classroom. How many girls are there? Okay, the first thing we are going to do is we are going to write the ratio 2 to 3 in fraction notation. So 2 to 3 is the same as 2 over 3. The order of the words in the sentence tells you the order of the ratio. Since boys is mentioned first, it means that number 2 represents the number of boys. So 2 means 2 boys, and 3 means 3 girls. Okay, so 2 to 3 is the ratio of boys to girls. Now, I know that in the classroom, there are really 40 students, but I don't know the number of boys or the number of girls, and I am asked for the number of girls in the class of 40 students. Okay, so I know that this ratio, 2 to 3, is representing a sample of the complete class. And this sample is made up of 2 boys and 3 girls, which is in total of 5 students. So I can say that this is a sample of the class, a sample of 5. Okay, this is important because now I'm going to write a new ratio, but instead of the ratio being of boys to girls, I am going to write it of girls to students because I'm interested to know how many girls there are. Okay, so there are 3 girls in the sample of 5 students. Okay, so 3 now is going to be girls, and 5 is students. Now that I know the ratio of girls to students, I can use this information to build a proportion. Okay, so I'm going to write it on the right. There are 3 girls for every 5 students. This is proportional to the number of girls, which is I don't know, and I'm going to represent it with an X. Girls to students in the classroom, which are 40. Okay, so in these two ratios that are making this proportion, the numerator is representing the number of girls, and the denominator on both fractions represents the number of students. Now that I know my proportion, I can solve it by the property of proportions of cross multiplication. That means that 3 times 40 is equal to the multiplication of 5 times x. Now I solve the proportion, and I'm going to clear x to find its value. 3 times 40 is 120. And that is equal to 5 times x, which is 5x. I clear x and I divide 120 over 5. 120 over 5 is 24. Okay, so x is 24, and we mentioned that x is representing the number of girls. So that means that in the class of 40 students, there are 24 girls. Okay, in the classroom. Remember that in word problems, it is very important to answer our question in words. Now let's see this second example. The problem says, in a class of 55 students, the ratio of boys to girls is 4 to 7. How many girls need to be added for the ratio to become 1 to 2? Okay, now in order to know how many girls I need to add for the ratio to become 1 to 2, first I need to know how many boys and how many girls are in the class of 55 students. We can figure that out just by using the same process we did in the previous problem. So first I'm going to write the ratio as a fraction, 4 to 7. We know that this ratio is a sample of the class. Since we have 4 and 7 in total, we have 11 students. Remember that this group of 11 students is a sample of the complete class. Okay, so now I need to build a new ratio, but now of boys to students or girls to students to figure out how many of them there are. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to start with the first ratio, which is boys. Since boys is mentioned first, remember that that means that the first number, which is 4, represents the number of boys. So now I know that there are 4 boys in the sample of 11 students. Okay, so 4 represents the number of boys and 11 the number of students. Knowing this ratio, now I am going to write the proportion of boys to students. Since there are 4 boys for every 11 students, that's proportional to the number of boys, x, in the class of 55 students. Now that I have my proportion, I am going to solve it to find the number of x, which represents boys. 4 times 55 is equal to the multiplication of 11 times x. 4 times 55 is 220. That's equal to 11x. I clear the x. 220 over 11 equals x. 220 over 11 is 20. So x is 20. Now that I know how much is x, I know that this is the number of boys. So there are 20 boys. Now that I know how many boys there are, I can figure out the number of girls just by subtracting them to the number of students in total. So now 55 students minus the 20 boys gives me the number of girls, which is 35. So now there are 35 girls. So 20 boys and 35 girls in the class of 55 students, which is a ratio of 4 to 7. But the question is, how many girls need to be added for the class to become 1 to 2? So I know that the ratio that I need is 1 to 2. The 1 representing the number of boys. I'm going to write it on the side. 1 is the number of boys, and 2 the number of girls. That means that there is 1 boy for every 2 girls, which is there are twice the number of girls than the number of boys. And I know that in the class, right now there are 20 boys, but there are 35 girls. And I'm going to add something to make it 1 to 2, so I'm going to add x. 35 plus x. Well, I'm going to write another letter, not x, because I already used x for something else. So I'm going to write y. 35 plus y. Now I can answer this by logic because I know that there should be twice the number of girls and boys. And if I already know that there are 20 boys, let me change the color of the pen. Okay, I need twice the number of girls, so twice 20 should be 40. So if I already have 35 girls, 40 minus 35 gives me 5. So now I know that I need to add 5 girls. Okay? But if I want to do it by solving the proportion, I can do it just as I did before. Okay, cross multiplying. 1 times 35 plus y is equal to 2 times 20. 1 times 35 plus y is 35 plus y equals 2 times 20 is 40. I'll clear the y. Y equals 40 minus 35. And 40 minus 35 gives me 5. Okay? And I know that y was representing the number of girls that I need to add. So now I'm going to answer the question. The question was, how many girls need to be added for the ratio to become 1 to 2? We need to add, we need to add 5 girls. Okay, this is our answer. Okay, so I hope these two examples helped. Thank you for watching this video.